everyone, welcome to Here We Are, Brattleboro's community talk show. I'm Wendy O'Connell, and I'm very happy to say that we're all still producing our shows. We're still on the air, we're still broadcasting, we're still happy, and we're very happy also that you're here with us today. And today on Here We Are, I'm really happy to have Nicole Reisman on our show. Nicole was born and raised in the kitchen. Learning from her mother, she went on to work with top chefs. She studied at London's Cordon Bleu. She went deep into the worldwide community of chefs. And in her travels, she realized that people all over the world were going hungry, and she wanted to do something about it. So now here she is in Brattleboro, and she's created Nicoles Community Kitchen. She's feeding hundreds of local folks free of charge every week. We're calling her the People's Chef. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thanks for being on the show. We're glad we caught you. Before we get deep into the show, I just want to mention to people you had a little run-in with a little dog.
I did. I was trying to give it too many kisses, and he gave me a big kiss back. So, stitches here.
Got stitches, but you're smiling. That's what's so
Absolutely.
great.
Yeah, it's fine. I got too close. It was my fault.
Well, yes, but you have a really good attitude toward it. You're very positive.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not keeping you back at all.
Not at all.
So, Nicole, you're from the South. Were you born in Memphis?
Well, I was actually born in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Oh.
My dad was stationed there, my parents, during Vietnam, and I was born in '69, and they left, I think, in 1970. I think I was only there maybe a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then my father did his residencies in various places. So we moved around a little bit. There was Oregon and California, but my mom is from Memphis, Tennessee, and my dad grew up in just over the river in Arkansas, but then moved to Memphis at a young age. So anyway, we ended up back in Memphis, and it's really, where I remember where I grew up.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you spent most of your early years there.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And your mother was also a cook?
She was an incredible chef. When I was really young, she had a catering company out of our house called Call Your Mother. And so she would do like weekly menus, and people would order and pick up items, and then later in life, and when I was older, she had catering companies, and we did huge events all over Memphis.
Yeah.
And we also helped different people open restaurants that needed opening chefs.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. So we did a lot of working together until I moved to New York in the early-ish 90s.
Yeah. And were you working as a cook, as a chef then in New York?
Yeah, I came to New York to go work for Bobby Flay. I was the executive chef of a restaurant in Oxford, Mississippi, and I got his book, and I was just like blown away.
Hey, so for folks in the audience, Bobby Flay is one of the top chefs, and you can he's won a lot of accolades. He's written books, etc. So you got to give
lots of TV shows.
Yeah.
So I called him at his restaurant in New York City, Mesa Grill. I think it was every day for 3 weeks. And, someone would answer and they would say, what's your name? And I would tell them, and they would say to me, what's this regarding? And I said, he'll know. And so I kept doing that. And then finally one day I'm in my kitchen in Mississippi, and they called me and they say, Nicole, Bobby Flay's on the phone. was like, oh my. So
Wow.
I got on the phone with him and I just said, look, I have a vacation coming up and I'd like to spend it in your kitchen. So I went and spent 2 weeks there, I think, 10 days, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And he offered me a job.
Really?
So I started cooking for him at Mesa. Then I went over to Bolo and cooked there.
Mm-hmm.
And, his TV career was really taking off.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just said to him, we were going to do a cooking demonstration in Connecticut, I think. And I said, I think you now need an assistant. And so that started, and we got to do lots of incredible things together.
Oh, wow. That's amazing, Nicole. What a great story. I mean, that's sort of a little dream come true at an early age.
Yeah, and he was absolutely the best boss I've ever had.
Really.
Yeah, people always ask me, is he a nice guy? And I'm like, yes.
I know that you've done a lot of traveling. I don't know how much time you spent in various places, but I wonder if you could give us a few highlights.
Yeah, well, when I left Bobby, it's because I fell in love with a British man. So I moved to England and I was there about 16 years.
Hmm? Wow.
And I decided to take a trip to Thailand for 2 weeks. And I ended up staying 2.5 years.
Wow.
Oh, and before that, I moved to China for a little while in Shanghai.
Really?
And then I ended up in Israel for a year.
Hmm?
And before, I also pretty much lived in Dubai while I was also living in London, but I was doing so much work in Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
So then I lived in Israel, and then I came back to the States. I think that was at the end of 2017.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. So it hasn't been that long.
In London, my ex-husband and still a good friend, we started a blog called
Mm-hmm.
thecriticalcouple.com.
Uh-huh.
And from that, we were asked to be judges for San Pellegrino's World 50 Best.
Wow.
And we also did a lot of charity work. I cooked at a London soup kitchen, and we did some stuff for an organization called Contact the Elderly.
Mm-hmm.
And they would come to our house once a month for tea parties. And that was fun. And
Yeah.
we also teamed up with incredible Michelin-starred chefs, and we hosted dinner parties out of our apartment in London.
Wow.
And these Michelin-starred chefs would come and cook,
Uh-huh.
donating their time. We would pay for all the ingredients, and then we auctioned off the seats around the table. Every chef, had something that they wanted to focus on, and we wanted to focus on
Yeah.
primarily the soup kitchen that I worked in. We
Mm-hmm.
did a lot of fundraising for them. Then when I moved to Thailand, I did some consulting for an American restaurant there.
Uh-huh.
Just helping them with their menu and
Uh-huh.
teaching their staff about cooking. And then in Israel, I was asked to recruit Michelin-starred chefs to come cook at an event there, which is called Roundtables by American Express.
Yes, and that's a very big deal. I had never heard of it, but I looked it
Yes.
up, and yeah. So a lot of the top chefs in the world are competing. Is that correct?
Well, that's not actually a competition.
Huh?
What it is that the chefs coming from all over the world get paired with local chefs and restaurants.
Uh-huh.
And the local chefs and restaurants will go to the guest chef's restaurant and learn what they need to learn so they
Mm.
can get the product in. And then the guest chef flies over to Israel and cooks in the restaurants, and people buy tickets for those events.
Wow.
So
So
that's a for-profit.
That was for profit. So you've done a lot of production.
I have.
Not only food production, but event production and people coordination and organizations. That's
Yes.
that takes a lot of skills.
It's a lot of fun. And, I learned a lot of that from Bobby because
Did you? Huh?
his first cooking show, Grillin' and Chillin', the Food Network hired me to do the production of that.
Oh, wow.
So we went to Clearwater, Florida, and I cooked out of an airplane hangar. And and those were the days they shot, probably, if I remember correctly, like 8 shows in a day.
Wow.
They didn't want to stop tape or anything, so it was
Wow.
wild.
Wow.
And then we opened Bobby's Catering Company, and we were doing, events in some pretty incredible places that did not have kitchens. I remember, one museum full of Picassos, and, we were on the roof and created a kitchen on the roof.
Wow.
So
So you're thinking on your feet all the time when it comes to this stuff, right? Yeah.
I try to.
Yeah. And everything has to look beautiful and taste good too.
Absolutely. That's
Big,
the most important.
big challenges and unbelievable. But you enjoy all this, it sounds like.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
imagine anything else.
That's a wonderful thing. So you many of the things that you've done, there's a charity component to it.
Yes.
And so that seems to be a little bit built in, even with your mother, cooking with your mother early days.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
definitely.
Hmm.
It's important to me.
Yes. And so you come to Brattleboro, and I think there was a job offer that landed you here originally.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was hired to be co-chef of a restaurant nearby.
Hmm.
That didn't work out for various reasons, and I left, within a month.
Uh-huh.
And I've just been doing private cooking. So I'll go to homes all over and cook for dinner parties,
Yeah.
or I offer a service called Stock the Fridge. And that's something that my mother and I had originally offered when we were cooking together in Memphis. And it's basically you sit down with the family and you understand what their needs are and what everybody likes, and you create a bespoke menu for them, and then you cook food that will last them, if they want you to come in once a week,
Yeah.
for the refrigerator and the freezer.
I love this. This is such a good idea. Who wouldn't
Yeah, it's
want
fun.
that? Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a wonderful service. And
it's
so
fun.
you've done a lot of that in your time in Brattleboro. Of course, you've only been here since September, I believe.
Right, yes. And then, of course, COVID hit
Right.
not that long after.
Well, I
So,
was gonna say, so you've got this thing that's starting to roll, you're getting clients and you're getting jobs and things are starting to happen. And then, yes, and then the pandemic strikes. So can you talk a little bit about that?
oh, I mean, that just stopped my work in its tracks for
Yeah,
sure.
right, right.
But, I've stayed very busy, cooking for the community. So,
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious about that transition too, Nicole, because obviously you've got it in your blood, and you had been in Brattleboro, gee, was not even 6 months, but you saw there was a need for this kind of community outreach.
yeah, well, so on Facebook, there's a Buy Nothing group. And before COVID hit, I was going in there and offering free
Hmm,
meals to
I
people
see.
that wanted it.
Uh-huh.
And so people were a little familiar with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then when COVID hit, then I started offering more, and the demand just went through the roof.
I'll bet. So people were getting in touch with you mainly through that site?
Yes.
Okay.
So then once the demand started going crazy, I started posting in all the other groups like the Brattleboro and the
Mm.
Putney and all those areas. And then ultimately I set up Nicoles Community Kitchen page,
As a
and
site, yes.
I still announce all the meals and all those groups.
Yeah.
I just probably announce a little bit more stuff on on my group page.
Well, yeah, I just want to mention at this point too that your site and the postings that you have are available for people to see, obviously, and we'll have that information at the end of the show. But also, there you've got a really nice logo, and it's the site is very well designed. It's very appealing. You've got photographs of the food, which is a feat in itself. Photographing food and making it look good.
I am so terrible about taking photographs, but my best friend Pam is always yelling in my ear, take photos, take photos. So I'm trying to get better about it.
Yeah, well, everything looks wonderful. Everything looks really delicious,
Thank you.
and also you get great comments, which is nice too. People are giving you wonderful feedback, and
Absolutely.
and again, I'd like to know, that there are people on Facebook who can access this, but what about people who don't have access to social media or computers?
Yeah, I have people like that all the time, and they can email me.
Okay, yeah, and again, we'll have that info at the end. The thing too, Nicole, is that you're not only cooking this food, and I know you've had a lot of help, and we'll get more information about that. But you're organizing it, you're planning the menu, you're prepping all of the food, you're cooking all of the food, you're packaging all the food, and for a long time you were delivering as well, right?
Yes.
So you have had help. So let's hear a little bit about that story.
Well, I decided in March that we all could use a Thanksgiving meal.
Right.
And so I got 70 orders for that. And I was doing all the food and all the packaging and everything and delivering and out of my apartment kitchen. And I had started at 1:30 in the morning, and I don't know my way around. And at 9, so I was going, when I started delivering, I was going back and forth all over the place.
Yeah, yeah.
And at 9 o'clock at night, I was like,
Yeah,
I can't do anymore.
can't keep that up for very long.
Yeah. So, but immediately I said I need help. And, I had a ton of volunteers start coming and helping with the deliveries.
Wow.
And now we're up to 12 volunteer delivery drivers, and that's organized by Tony Duncan and Jackie Reese.
Mm-hmm.
And they do an incredible job.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was very soon after that that John Julian at Top of the Hill Grill just reached out to me, didn't know me from Adam, and said, would you like to use my idle kitchen? And I was like, oh, my hero. So I went and met him, and he handed me a key, and off we went. So we were able to then increase to like 150 meals a day.
And that is not a huge kitchen either.
No, I mean, it's adequate. It's certainly adequate. He's got, the grill where you order. There's a small kitchen in there, but the building to the right is a good sized prep kitchen with a walk-in freezer. So yeah, it's just enabled me to do a lot more. Not yesterday, but the Tuesday before, we did over 240 meals in one day.
Wow, wow. And were you still at Top of the Hill there?
Yes.
Yes, and you could produce that. You did okay. Wow.
Yeah, we did it.
But now the Top of the Hill is open for the season. You are looking for something a little more permanent.
Yeah, so yesterday was my last day to cook out of there. And, I just can never say thank you enough to them. My new temporary home is going to be a Next Stage Arts Project in Putney.
So great, yeah. Yeah, beautiful kitchen.
And I'm so excited about that. Beautiful, and beautiful people.
Yeah.
And they don't have a lot of refrigeration. And, eventually they're going to open up and they're going to need their space. So, yes, I'm definitely on the lookout for something more long term. But in the meantime, I've got access to that.
Yes.
And Elizabeth Harris Warner from a retired caterer has a walk-in just down the street that she's allowing me to use.
Yes.
So we're going to make it work.
Well, it's amazing how the communities come together. I'm so impressed.
I
Yeah.
have a long list of people,
Yes, I'm sure you
that
do.
that are vital.
Yeah. I'm sure.
This started off as maybe a one-man band, but
Mhm.
it is far from that now.
Well, and it's also really obvious you have the energy behind it to really keep it moving and keep it viable. Yeah, it's very exciting. And, I think that it's been such a grassroots endeavor,
Yes,
even though
totally.
you've got all this experience, you're coming into a community you don't know. And it does sound, like you've been really well supported. How are you funding this? I think that's a hard.
Well, so at first I was self-funding,
Mhm,
um, but I couldn't do that for very long.
mhm,
And the United Way of Windham County reached out to me
mhm.
and said, "We want to support what you're doing." And so they offered me a small grant, and then they agreed also to be the fiscal sponsor to receive another small grant from the New England Grassroots Environmental Fund.
Oh, nice.
And people in the community just send me checks.
Wow.
Um, they hand cash to the delivery driver when they have it, if they have it.
Yep.
Some people can only do a couple of dollars, or, some people can't do anything, and anything's fine.
Mhm.
But the point is if they can, they do, which is incredible. And
Right.
I started a GoFundMe,
Right.
and that's under Nicoles Community Kitchen. And I think I've gotten just over $5,000 on
Mhm.
that so far.
So that's keeping you going for now.
Yes,
Yeah, and the GoFundMe is still active, so people can still
absolutely. Yeah.
contribute there. We'll have that info too. And
Because
so,
I buy retail,
yeah,
um, you know, that's a big part of it, because I have to go around all the different grocery stores and buy
right,
a lot of product.
yeah,
But it costs me around 300, sometimes more, a little more, for 150 meals, $300.
right.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah, so in some ways too, Nicole, I know that in a lot of ways this is still early days for you and trying to figure things out. And I know a lot of folks that I've had on the show over the last weeks have been talking about business in Brattleboro and how they're creating new business models, sort of
Right.
as they go. And it seems like this is another place where that's happening. You're trying to find a way to make it work.
I am, yeah. And I've got some calls out to some very clever people that are going to work hard at trying to help me figure this out. I've definitely found my passion, and, that's feeding this community. I always want there to be a community kitchen
Mhm.
element to it.
So Nicole, you've really established something here in a very short period of time, and I know that you've on Peter Case's show you actually referred to this as feeling that this was your life's mission and something that you really want to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why, I'm reaching out to and asking anyone in that field that can come to me that, is a lot smarter than me on how I can make this happen, in a long-term, meaningful way.
Hmm. Yes, and again, it sort of gets back to that idea of a different business model,
Right.
and how to incorporate that. And again, what you're offering is eligible to everyone.
Absolutely. When I started this, it was just as much about, we all need a little comfort right now, and, and love. And for me, that's food. And my love language is food, and I love, making people happy that way. So absolutely anyone is invited to order a meal. It's 100% free, no questions asked. And if you are not coming from a place of food instability and you like the sound of a meal, order it and I will gratefully accept your donation.
That's great. It'd be great too. Maybe you could do gift cards like they did with the Downtown Business Association. That might be
Yeah,
something that people could do.
yeah,
Yeah,
that would be great.
that would be.
I'm working on putting together an auction,
Uh-huh.
and I'm gonna get things from all over the community to auction,
Mhm.
but I'm also gonna auction my services.
Right.
So whether that's stock the fridge
Hmm.
or in the future a dinner party, or if you have an outdoor space that's safe in terms of social distancing,
Right.
I can do that now.
Yes.
So
And
there's a lot to be done.
I imagine in a more normal world, you would be doing weddings and bar mitzvahs and all kinds of things like that as
Oh
well.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I know you've had a lot of people on board helping you. I know that you've mentioned the United Way. I know the porch was really helpful, and GoFundMe, of course.
Yes.
Any others you'd like to mention?
Oh yeah, there's a lot. So I want to make sure that I really thank, I mentioned Tony and Jackie before that are coordinating the delivery drivers,
Hmm.
but the 12 delivery drivers themselves, are there every week,
Yeah.
and they are just raring to go and passionate about it. And this couldn't happen without them.
Yeah.
Um, the whole team at Paul A. Boyd Farm in Guilford
Oh,
has
uh-huh.
been incredible.
Oh,
Uh, Paul's donated some meat when he can,
uh,
and Lynn, his partner, she cooks desserts every single week to go
uh,
into the meals.
uh,
Their niece, Kayla Boyd, comes and she's helped me the last couple of weeks with some cooking and packaging things up. John Julian, as I said, but his family, uh, they come in and help me package things up and clean.
mm-hmm.
I had, when I was cooking out of my house, Magical Home Transformations helped me a couple times coming in and cleaning,
Yeah.
when I just couldn't bear to look at it anymore.
Right. There's that part
um,
of it. Yes.
yeah. Russ Pacino, who is with World Centric, they've donated lots of packaging for me.
Mhm.
Groundworks has donated product for me.
Wow.
The Retreat Farm gave me a lot of gift certificates to the co-op,
Uh-huh.
which was amazing.
That's great.
Um,
Yes.
I mentioned Elizabeth Harris Warner
Right.
with offering her guidance, her equipment, her walk-in. Catherine Marie and her husband at Koa Campground.
Yes. Right. Right. Yeah.
They made that logo for me, and they have donated their food trailer to me, and they are just having the logo put on the outside of it now.
So great. That's so great. Well,
And then
it really shows that it takes a village and a town and a rural area to support elderly. It's so
absolutely,
wonderful, Nicole. Thank you so
yeah.
much. It's been wonderful having you on. We really appreciate all the information, and just the fact that you're here is really
Thank you.
great.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell everyone what's going on and for the support.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you in Brattleboro. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thanks to all of you for joining in today and listening to this great story. Nicole is around town. She is reachable. All the information, again, will be at the end of the show. Tune in next week. We will have someone else on, and you will be hearing more from us every week. Thank you so much for being with us.